We ready? We on? Have we been on? Hey, good morning. Welcome to Mornings with, no, it's not Mornings with Mac. Welcome to the sermon recap. And Kirkwood is, as you can see, he's not here. He claims he's sick. I wrote him last night. He was sick yesterday while he led music. That's why I wouldn't get close to him. And he's got all of this stuff up here, going on. So we hope he gets to feeling better. Well, let me get you into the text from yesterday, which normally Kirkwood pulls me away from the text. So let me just get to the text in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, and we started in the second part of the chapter, beginning with verse 15. And I kind of went back and I recapped, because if you look at, I've got, in my Bible, I've got chapter 6 here, chapter 7 here. Well, when I look back at chapter 6, what Solomon is talking about is success is not all it's cracked up to be. Now, listen, this is a guy who was probably the most famous man in the then known world at his time, and was certainly the richest man in the world and the wisest man that has ever lived. So he knows what success is about. He understands it. He sees it from that side. And he comes and he tells you, don't believe everything you hear about success. Don't believe that everybody who has success is just absolutely full of joy and satisfaction, because they're not. And I use the illustration of Justin Bieber, who came out a week ago at the Grammys in his shorts, in his underwear, and his socks with just a guitar to play and to sing. It's the first time he's sung at the Grammys in 4 years, I think, or 5 years, or something like that. Anyway, he comes out trying to say, I don't need anything but my voice. Well, I think I could have told him that 5 years ago. All this other added drama that you live through you don't need that. Get away from all the drama. But even still, he couldn't get away from the drama because he came out in his underwear and his socks. Well, anyway, you just look at that and you can see success is not everything that it's always cracked up to be. So that's what he's saying here. Not everything that they say is good for you. Then chapter 7, he starts in these 14 verses and he tells you not everything that they say is bad for you is really bad for you. In other words, not every struggle is bad for you. Not every heartache is bad for you. Not every difficulty is bad for you. We all need some of that in our lives to adjust us and redirect us and kind of pull us back to a place of balance in our lives spiritually. Well, that's what Solomon is saying here. And then he comes in verse 15 and he starts a new section, which the whole of chapter 7 is a transition, by the way, from here to the end of the book. And in verse 15, he begins to talk about not everybody who claims that they're righteous are righteous. I was just reading an article early this morning out of, it was a friend of mine who had written an article dealing with fallen pastors and how quickly they are restored to ministry. Not the issue of being forgiven. Can Jesus forgive? Absolutely. Forgives immediately. Do we forgive? When sin is confessed and repented of, yes, we can forgive immediately. Can you restore somebody immediately? That's the problem we have. And my opinion, along with this writer this morning, was, we're doing that way too fast. And I would agree with that. We're just setting ourselves up for more trouble down the road when we don't walk somebody through the paces, and I don't mean 6 months or even a year sometimes. And a lot of it depends on what the issue has been. So don't believe everybody that says they are the most righteous person in the world. And don't believe everybody who says they are the wisest person in the world. We've all seen charlatans that have done that. Well, that's basically what he's talking about in the rest of chapter 7, and that's what I looked at yesterday. That's a long setup, but let me just walk you through verse 16 and 17, and we'll wrap this up. Solomon comes and he says, don't be excessively righteous and don't be overly wise. And you have to stop and think, what in the world is he saying here? Don't be excessively righteous. Well, can I be just righteous enough to feel good about myself? Or can I be just, righteous enough to satisfy a couple of rules? Is that what he's saying? Because a lot of people take it that way. I don't have to be goody-goody, as most people would say. Or I don't have to follow all of this instruction from the Bible. Or I don't have to be in church, every Sunday. And I don't have to do these things all the time. And then he comes in verse 17, and he says, don't be excessively wicked. Well, can I be moderately wicked? Is that okay? Is that all right? That's what it sounds like. Well, let me tell you, neither one of those are correct. What Solomon is saying here is this. He's saying in verse 16, don't act like you're the most righteous person around. And he's also saying, when it comes to don't be overly wise, don't act like you're the smartest person in the room. He says you're going to ruin your life. You ruin yourself doing that. I can remember a guy, and I don't know if I could even remember his name at this point, but I won't make any allusion other than every class that the guy was in, he was the first one on the first day to get in with the professor to tell him who he was and what he was going to do and all this kind of stuff. And we all would just look at each other and roll our eyes because we knew him. It was kind of like, I'm the most spiritual guy that's in this place, and God has called me to the greatest ministry that anybody could ever be called to, and the rest of these people in here don't count, and I'm the smartest student you're going to have in this class. Well, he ruined himself with everybody. Nobody really wanted to hang around him. Nobody wanted to talk to him. Nobody really wanted to be his friend. And so Solomon is saying, stop doing that. Stop acting that way. You're just setting yourself up for failure. And then when he comes and he says, don't be excessively wicked, I think what he's saying is this. You better stay away from sin in its moderation. To think that I can practice sin moderately and be okay is death. If it's not death physically, it is certainly death spiritually. The soul that sinneth dies. Well, that's what he's explaining. Those are the two hardest verses, I think, in this chapter to kind of work through. And the whole thing is on our perspective. How you see yourself, how you see others, how you see God. And that's the way he finishes up the chapter. Is Solomon changes, if you look down, he changes pronouns here, and he goes from the first person, he goes from the third person plural to the first person singular. He goes from you all, basically, if he were from the South, he would have said you all, that's what he is referring to I. I tested, verse 25, do you see there shifts right there? I tested all this with wisdom, and I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. Well, he's talking about himself now. He said, I see something different now about God. I see something different now about myself, and I see something different now about others. Well, he gets a hold of the right perspective, and that's going to lead us this coming Sunday into chapter 8. Now, there it is. Now, let me close with this. We're talking about a first grade here at the church. That's all. We're not talking about full-blown, kindergarten through high school. But we're opening a first grade this fall. Not a lot of fanfare, not a lot of hype, not a lot of... We're going to open what we're calling Valleydale Classical Academy. Valleydale Classical Academy. Will open up this fall, the first grade. We already have preschool here, and we already have a kindergarten. And so we just feel like the next natural step for us will be that first grade class. You can get online and you can see an application of interest and look at that and fill that out and get that back to us. All of this is coming together right now. We have an excellent school board that is put together. We're doing this in connection with a group called Concordance that we have hired, who are experts at doing this. They have started classical academies all across the nation, and they do just an incredible job of helping us put this together. Very godly leadership there, godly employees. We were introduced to them all this past Wednesday night, and just really blown away of how committed to the Lord and to Christian education they are. So I encourage you, if you're interested in a place where, and you say, well, what is classical education? Well, you can get on that site of Concordance, and they'll give you an explanation of that. But let me just say that it is the difference between a genuine Christian foundation that is laid to build a biblical worldview into every single class, and how we teach students not just to memorize, but logic, rhetoric, grammar. Those three things are comprise the trivium of the foundation in classical education, so that they are learning how to apply all these things through a biblical lens to their lives and to the world around. We want thinking young people, and not just kids that can memorize and it sticks with them for a while and then it's gone. So if you've got any questions about that, we've got a great school board on March the 1st at 5 o'clock right here that Sunday afternoon. We're going to have the school board here. Our first grade teacher will be here. I will be here. We're going to walk through the facilities downstairs. That all of that's been renovated and redone, and really is beautiful, and so more than adequate to take care of our needs. So there you go. Now, Kirkwood, please get better. Joe, Joe wouldn't even sit up here. She said, I'm just too disgusted to even sit up here today. So we'll see y'all. God bless.